Very cool stuff. All right, big story is where we'll start off. It is the NFL draft. It is why Joshua is here today. And let's start off with the fact the Big Ten did really well. I mean, 48 players selected. I think there were 5 different rounds where 7 guys from the Big Ten were taken in each of those rounds. You can see only 4 years had there been more players ever drafted from the conference. So let's start off with the first player taken, Aiden Hutchinson, number 2 overall, which is great. He was expected to go high. He did go high, and he goes to the home state Detroit Lions. Pretty perfect. It is. It is perfect in a lot of ways. I think, first off, he's a personality fit. When you look at what's going on in Detroit, they've got a head coach who is a little bit out there, and Aiden Hutchinson is a guy, and I mean this in the most complimentary way, who's a little bit out there. You see the stories about him manifesting what he wants in his future. Like, he's a guy where if he wants to do something, he's going to do it. So I think he fits for the personality of that organization. But there is a pressure layer that comes with being a guy who was, the All-American Heisman runner-up from Michigan and playing in the state of Michigan right there in Detroit professionally. So he's going to have to manage expectations, and he's going to have to probably, quiet some of the noise. You can't listen to the good. You can't listen to the bad. Just keep it right down the middle. But I think this is a wonderful opportunity for him and a team that really needed a great rusher. Do you think there's more pressure because he's the in-state kid or because he's number 2 overall? It's the combination of both. Like, if he was a 6th-round pick going to the home team, it's not as big of a deal. If you're the number 2 overall pick, you're going to have pressure regardless. But now being the number 2 overall pick and staying at home, there's the combination of the pressure of doing either one of those. So I think he's the perfect guy to handle it, just talking about his mental makeup. Well. He is, and he told the story about basically all the good things that happened to him and to the University of Michigan this year. He said them out loud so they would happen that way. So if he says to himself, I'm going to have a great career in Detroit, it's probably going to happen. Some people were very surprised he didn't go number 1 overall. Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, I think teams start to overthink the draft the closer they get to it. And it's like when you're Jacksonville. Jump on a box thing. If you jumped on a box, does that mean you're really better at football? And it's seriously, and it's wild to think about because Jacksonville had been on the clock basically the whole offseason, and it seemed like the last 3 days leading into the draft was when the conversation transitioned over to Trayvon Walker, who I think is going to be a good pro, but I think the guy who is going to be ready to make an impact right now is Aiden Hutchinson because he had the production in college and because he's... I don't put you in Aiden's head, but if you had the choice of either going number 1 overall or going to your home state team, what would you have preferred? I'm going with the home team in that situation. Like, there's barely a difference in money, and you feel like it's probably something that he had dreamed of at one point or another. And I know that the Lions have struggled as an organization for a while, but I also think that they're in a window, and you can look at the close of last year and how they finished, where they're ready to turn things around. He's going to be a big part of that. So Wolverine was the first player to go from the Big Ten, but the Buckeyes made a big splash as well. We saw Wilson and Olave, the wide receivers from Columbus, go back-to-back in the first round. Yeah, and you thought it might have started at 8 with Atlanta. You thought Atlanta might be the one to go in and get Garrett Wilson, but it ended up being at number 10 with New York, which I think is going to be really good as you start to evaluate. They've got Zach Wilson, who was the all-everything combine quarterback, and now he needs some weapons around him. And I think overall the Jets had a really good draft, so that's going to help him. But Garrett Wilson's going to be the guy who gets to step in day one, go out there and play with an explosive quarterback, which is great. Then you start to look at Chris Olave, and he's a guy who probably could have left Ohio State a year ago, decides to stay, becomes a top 15 pick in the NFL draft, and I think it's going to be a really good fit down there in New Orleans with him. I think Jameis Winston is actually a solid starting quarterback in the NFL. You start to look at a guy like Michael Thomas, who played for the Ohio State Buckeyes as well. Makes a ton of sense. And you got to give a little shout out to Jamison Williams as well, who spent some time at Ohio State, transferred to Alabama, and was taken right behind those two guys. Think about that. Yeah. There was a wide receiver room in the Big Ten 2 years ago that had all 3 of those dudes. It's ridiculous to think about. And then, if you want to throw this one out there, Jackson Smith and Jigba statistically was the best Ohio State wide receiver last year, and he wasn't even draft eligible. So Brian Hartline is absolutely just crushing it. He is. He's got to be one of the most valuable assistant coaches
in the country right now with the way he's recruiting and developing guys at his position?
I mean, you start to boil it down. I mean, it's a consistent year after year. The guys are developed, ready to make an impact in the NFL. Even some of the guys who aren't taken in the first round, like you look at a Terry McLaurin, a Paris Campbell, those types of players, go out there, make an instant impact, and then you mention the recruiting. It's like, I don't know why you wouldn't at this point consider it strongly, but he's got the relationship with the guys to get him to come to Ohio State.
All summer. I mean, what he did in the Rose Bowl is
absolutely
silly.
Crazy.
All right, speaking of guys who've got some skills, how about Jahan Dotson, Penn State? He went right in the middle of that first round. What'd you think of it?
You know, he was one of my favorite players to watch in the Big Ten this past season. I thought that his game was phenomenal. He was a guy who was going to be effective at all three levels of the field, a smaller body wide receiver, and I thought that was going to be a knock on him. I thought because he's not as big of a wide receiver, especially in the NFL right now, where it's, corners are 6'2", 6'3", and physical, I thought that was going to be a knock to where he would go in the 20s. He ends up going at 16 to a team in Washington that needs some offensive skill. They've got Carson Wentz coming in. I'm not exactly sure that he's going to be a great quarterback, but what elevates quarterbacks is having really good wide receivers around them. So Terry McLaurin, which is a name that I did mention, and he's looking for a new contract, but he's in that wide receiver room. Jahan Dotson comes in. I think that he can make an impact instantly for that organization in Washington, hopefully elevate the quarterback play. But to me, I think he went higher than I anticipated he would, but that's not a bad thing because I do think he's that good.
How many years is it now that you've been doing stuff with us here at the network?
Since 19.
Okay, right. So you're at that point where you've now remembered guys when they were freshmen or when they're recruited, and you got to follow them all 3 years. So I've done signing days for us for forever. And I remember when George Karlaftis was signed by Jeff Brom at Purdue, and the whole story about a kid who was under-recruited probably based on his skill level because he was in Greece for a while. His mom's from West Lafayette. He had this family tragedy where his dad dies, so he moves to West Lafayette. Purdue gets an in-town kid who's a four-star, which is rare just because of the population of West Lafayette, if nothing else. I remember at the time people saying, this guy's a pro football player. He was a first-round pick.
And it's no shock to me. You talk about favorite players. This was probably the number one. This was my favorite player to watch in the Big Ten Conference. I got a chance to talk to him about his recruitment, too. I'm like, I know you're a hometown guy, but was there any consideration going elsewhere? And he mentioned a couple of schools, I'm not going to say where he thought about, but he said, listen, I want to play for Purdue. And he goes out there and immediately he is the guy. He deal with some injuries and, COVID year is a little bit crazy, but he comes out.
As a freshman, he was great.
He was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Comes out in 2021, and I think he plays really well. People get to the end of the year and they're like, he's not that productive. Like, why aren't his stats better? I said, you didn't watch the games, if that's the question that you're asking. Because this guy was consistently double and triple teamed. I go back to their game against Notre Dame. I watched Notre Dame, like their center, he'd be rushing the edge. Their center would come over, three guys eating him up. They would let other guys go so they could block George Karlaftis. And so there were some people who thought because his production was down and he's not going to be the best tester at the combine, that he would fall into the second round. Him at 30 is absolutely perfect. And then you look at Kansas City and what they're going to do defensively.
No pressure on him.
No. And he can play in his natural role, which is the 5 technique, covering up that tackle instead of playing over on the edge in a wide 9. He played every technique in college from a 0 all the way out to a 9. This is perfect for him, and he absolutely was deserving of a first-round selection.
Got an offense, he's going to score 40 points a game.
Yeah.
He can just slide in.
Just go out there and do your thing. It's going to be fun.
I tell you who loves the Big Ten, the Seattle Seahawks.
It sounds about right.
4 guys from the league.
Sure.
Including 2 early on, Boye Mafe and the running back from Michigan State, Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, Boye Mafe to me is a guy who's got so much untapped potential. And you look at him physically, his arms are extremely long. He's lean, but his muscles, his chest, his neck, his biceps are all thick. So he's a well put together kid. Athletically, he's very explosive. And I think once he truly learns how to pass rush, like really learns the art, because he was raw, he is going to be phenomenal. And he's as smart as can be. Just watch any interview he's ever done. Kenneth Walker was a guy, in my opinion, who you could still at the end of the year have made a case that he should have won the Heisman Trophy. He was that good consistently throughout the year for Michigan State. He's a second-round pick because running backs are undervalued in today's NFL. He is a perfect mentality fit for how Pete Carroll likes to run an organization. And so for both of these guys, I think they land in great spots. And for both of these guys, I think that their best playing days are ahead of them.
I misspoke a little, by the way. So Seattle went Big Ten back-to-back in the second round. The team that grabbed 4 from the league was Baltimore. Baltimore, who historically is pretty darn good at drafting. Linderbaum from Iowa seems like a great pick. Ojabo could be the steal because he was projected maybe top 10, but because of that injury, he fell down to them. They know what they're doing there.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Linderbaum. Like, he's probably the best interior offensive lineman in college football this year. We just watched. He would go out there, and he's a road grader. Not necessarily the biggest offensive lineman, but he's got really good footwork. He understands leverage. He's really strong. So this makes a ton of sense. Very good pick. You mentioned David Ojabo and his value. Yes, he is a first-round talent. He got hurt at his pro day, which is absolutely shameful. So he falls in the draft. But it could not have been a better situation for him because he falls to Mike McDonald, who was his defensive coordinator this past year. Like, for both of those guys, they have to be extremely happy. And so everything ends up working out in the end for this guy. And I'm excited to watch him because, you know, his football experience is a little bit thin, too. As a player, he's going to be really good in the NFL.
We'll take a break in a second, but I want one more guy that I want to ask you about. My team desperately needed a wide receiver. I was hoping hard they would go get David Bell. They did not.
Yeah.
But he went to Cleveland. Is he going to have a good pro career?
He absolutely is. And Brian Hartline, who we talked about earlier, said, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm making a move right now to go get David Bell. Yeah. And what do? They go get David Bell. And this was a player to me where I think the third round is perfect. I was scared that he would fall to day 3 because he did not test well at all. And I think that opened up a lot of eyes just in terms of what is this guy's ceiling going to be in the NFL? Because you see in the top 3 rounds especially, they will speculate on a guy who's got a really good athletic upside. And David Bell athletically does not have that. But you know what he has? He's Big Ten wide receiver of the year. Right. We mentioned all those guys up there. Really, really good wide receivers in the Big Ten. David Bell won the award. You watch the tape, he's open all the time. Absolutely a great selection. And I think the value makes perfect sense right there in the third round, too.
You're not done.
No, I'm not.
You're kicked out for a few seconds, but you're coming back. Golden Gophers had their spring game this past weekend. Might have forgotten how good Minnesota was last year. 9-win team, won their bowl game. Of their 4 losses, 3 of them came by only 1 score. And this came thanks to a ton of injuries with running backs all year, putting extra pressure on quarterback Tanner Morgan, who returns for a, count 'em up, 6th year this coming fall. And old man Tanner joins us for our big interview this year. Tanner, we'll get to the fact that you're in your mid-50s on this team comparatively in a little bit. But let's start with what happened this past weekend. Give me something you learned from the spring game on Saturday.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we learned that our guys love to compete. Saw a lot of young guys go out there and make a lot of plays, especially outside in the receiver position. You know, Michael Brown-Stevens, Dalen Wright, all kinds of guys just going out there and making plays. And you know, our young quarterbacks, and our, you know, Cole and Ethan, those guys went in there and just operated. And, you know, really love this team and excited to continue to get to work coming up on this summer as we look forward to, you know, getting back at it soon.
You know, we in the media only get to see so much of your practices. Fans really only get to see the spring game, but you're there every day. Give me a player to watch, someone that you've seen every day that you're like, this person's going to make an impact in the fall.
Oh, man, yeah. I mean, I think we have so many guys who've taken a big step forward. You know, one guy I think who's just worked tremendously hard and proved it each and every single day and showed it was our tight end, Brevin Spann-Ford, number 88. He worked his tail off every day in the winter. You know, he's playing so much more confidently and making plays, you know, in the run game, in the pass game, and just, you know, working really hard. And we're excited to have him as a, you know, part of our offense and, you know, have him as a teammate and a leader on this team.
Well, and you've known him from the beginning because, again, you're in your 11th year. What is it like?
It definitely seems like that.
What does it feel like? What is it like being there this long?
Yeah, man, it's different. Obviously, it's different, but it's really a gift to be able to be a Gopher and be a part of this culture for another year. I came here when Coach Fleck came here in January 2017, so kind of dating myself on that. You guys would probably, some people don't realize that I'm still in college, still playing, which is funny. And again, it's just a gift, and I'm grateful to be able to play here and be a part of this culture and this program. But we definitely got some old heads, some guys who have been here since 2017 season, and we love playing football here, and it's definitely a gift every day. But we've been around the block a time or two.
To be clear, old head is not a comment on your hair. That is an expression for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, when you've been bald for as long as me, it's it's something that just kind of part of who you are.
You first shaved it as a teenager?
Yeah, I was 19. I was in my third year in college, on year 6 now. But that fall, I was 19. That's when I went on with the bald head effect. So I think my first start, I was bald, and I think Matt Leinart threw a little shade at me. I think I was a redshirt freshman at the time, and he was like, "That is the oldest looking redshirt freshman I've ever seen in my life."
What pushed you over? What made you say it's time to go home?
Hey, you know what? I had a little receding hairline, and I was sitting there one day, and I kind of felt the back of my head, and my hair was thinning, and I was like, you know what? It's time. It's time. And so we did it. My roommate at the time shaved my head, and they were waiting for me to just cave in and go for it. But I fought the fight probably longer than I should have.
Very nicely. Let me just be very clear about that.
Exactly. It's all about contrast, It's all about contrast.
Here's how old you are. You've been there long enough that offensive coordinators have come, gone, and come back. Your man, Kirk Ciarrocca, is now back in the fold. It's one of the big storylines because of how successful the two of you were together the last time he was there. You said this past weekend about the reunion, you said it was so awesome because you've known him since you were 16. What do you remember about the first time you met Kirk?
Oh, man, the first time I met him, I was on a recruiting visit at Western Michigan University, and I just remember the detail that he had and how honest he was in his approach. He was very honest with his evaluation about me as a player, about what he does as an offensive coordinator, and I mean, he was just, said exactly what he saw about me, what he thought I could be, and talked very, very in detail about their offense and kind of, how he goes about his business. And I'll never forget that, and it's shown each and every single day that I've gotten the chance to learn from him.
You said he was honest. Let's check your honesty here. Once he left,
all right,
did you guys stay in touch?
Yeah. I was just committed to our program and our coaches at that time, and we didn't really have a ton of contact. But he's not only a coach in my life, but a mentor as well. So I mean, he's somebody that I look up to tremendously, and all our coaches on our staff are like that, and it's a great feeling as a player to be in a program where the coaches are not only elite at coaching football, but they're elite men and can show you what it's like to be a great father and be a great man.
Oh, you are smooth, my man. That was a perfect non-answer. Very smooth. When you look back, what can you pinpoint worked so well when you two worked together the last time?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you go back to it, it's all about understanding why, and it goes back to details. You go back to January, the details of finding ways to get 1% better every day, finding ways to execute. And, when you're in each other's minds of understanding, oh, he's calling this because, he's expecting this, and then you can play a lot faster, play freely. And, obviously we had a lot of great players, and we have a lot of great and elite players now. And, again, there's no magic plays. It's something he talks about all the time. There's no magic plays. It's a quote he got from Steve Kerr. And over a long time, it happens all of a sudden. Those are two things he believes in a lot. But really, it comes down to what you do every day, and teaching and learning from him and understanding exactly, why he does what he does, why he calls what he calls. And the teaching progressions makes a big difference.
Now, you said, want to get better 1% every day. If there was one specific thing, just looking internally, that you're like, I want to do this better in 2022 compared to 2021? What would it be?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of areas that I, would want to increase and get better at. And, one of them is just giving guys better opportunities to make plays, not forcing things, understanding exactly why coach wants to call what he's calling. And then, as a quarterback, it all comes down to distribution and giving guys opportunities to make plays. That's all it really is, putting the ball in guys' hands, the guys that are paid to make great catches and get open and things like that. So just giving them more opportunities and better chances to make plays and opportunities to be successful.
So earlier I'm looking at your Twitter account, and you don't tweet all that much, but one of the last ones was a retweet of you helping Girl Scouts sell cookies. Here's my question.
Oh, yeah.
Why are Thin Mints so wildly overrated?
To be honest, I don't know.
Tanner, they're not good. People love them, and they're not that good.
Listen, I agree with you. My favorite, honestly, might be the lemonade one. I think the lemonade one is incredibly underrated, personally.
Hot take.
But the Thin Mints fly off the shelves. They were definitely the hottest seller at the Mall of America that day. The people were loving them. But those girls did a great job, and it was awesome to be out there to help them out. And we had guys do that every Saturday. Our director of player development, Reese Wilson, set that up. We had guys go out there in different locations every Saturday and help out Girl Scouts selling cookies. So that was really fun. And we have a video of one of our linebackers and leaders, Mariano Sori-Marin, selling Girl Scout cookies in Cub Foods. And it's really awesome to see, the people responding to that and how many boxes of cookies they sold.
Thin Mints are the 3D movies of cookies. They're fine.
Wow.
But they're, you have it and you're like, okay, is it really that much better than everything else? Give me a Samoa.
You know what? I agree. Samoa is also very fire. I think the Thin Mints, to me, they're solid if they're frozen. If they're not frozen, it's like, I'm not a big mint chocolate guy, though. If I'm eating chocolate, I'd rather just have chocolate,
Yeah. No point beating around the bush. You're going to have chocolate, do it. Don't cover it in something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, don't cover it and eating chocolate and then trying to make your breath smell good at the same time.
Right, I get the idea. You're trying to kill two birds with one stone, but let's focus here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, Tanner, good talking with you, man. Have a great summer and looking forward to watching you this fall. The dominance in Champaign continues on the golf course. Brings us to our big stat, because over the weekend, Illinois won another title. Come from behind fashion. Michigan State led after round one and round two. Illinois as a team played 2 strokes better than them on Sunday to be 1 stroke better overall. They win the Big Ten championship. Here's your big stat. 7 in a row, and 12 of the last 13 titles belong in Champaign. Adrien Dumont de Chassart joins us now to talk about it. First off, congratulations on the victory. It was such a comeback you had over the weekend. What was it like Saturday night into Sunday morning, knowing that you guys had ground to make up?
No, thank you. On Saturday night, we all came as a team in my room. We just talked about how we're going to play the course on Sunday, and we started visualizing every hole, where to be, on which side. We kind of had an idea of where the pins were going to be. And, we just stick to our own game and our game plan, and we won by 1. The conditions were a little tougher the last round. It was very windy. I didn't play really good. Didn't make as many up and downs as I wanted to, but Pearson Hanna had a great round. Shooting even par in this condition was very impressive. I believe it was the second or third best score of the day. And then Jackson Buchanan making birdie on the last was huge, And then I managed to make a good par on 18, and we won by 1. So that was very big for the team.
As you are playing that round, how aware are you of the scores that everybody else has? How aware are you of your teammates?
So normally I don't really like to check the scores, but I saw Coach a couple of times on the back nine, and I was struggling. I didn't really know how everyone was doing, but I knew it was a tough day out there. And coming down to 18, Coach told me that, a par shouldn't make it. But then James Pyatt from Michigan State birdie 18. So I knew that if we really wanted to win, I had to make birdie. If the guy I was playing with from Michigan State didn't birdie. But in the end, the guy from Michigan State made par. and I parred and we won by one. So that was big.
This is now 7 straight titles for you guys. Adrien, are you guys bored of winning?
No, not at all. We love winning.
How do you explain the dominance of Illini golf?
You know, I think it's all about, the culture and what, Mike Small, taught us about it over the years. It's all about, making up and downs, being on the right side of the hole, hitting fairways. And if you can do these little things right, the chance of winning goes way up. And I think that's what Illinois has been doing over the years. And that's probably one of the reasons why we've been winning Big Ten a couple of times in a row now.
Is Mike Small a better coach or a better recruiter?
That's a good question. I think he's a very good coach and a very good recruiter. He sees potential in young players. And if you compare it to other teams, most of the players that comes in are not really very good ranked. But then at the end of the 4 years, they're really good college players. And, most of them have gone pros and been doing some very good job out there. But yeah, I think he's a really good coach and a very good recruiter. I don't know. I can pick.
What do you remember about when he recruited you?
I think the first time I saw him was in 2015 in Miami. I was playing a tournament. He was also watching another player, Giovanni Tagliotto, who graduated last year. But yeah, he just looked at my game. I believe he liked the way I played that year because I finished second. And then, we've been in touch. And he liked the person I was and the way I was playing golf. So it was overly easy. I didn't really look at any other schools, probably because of Thomas Peters and Thomas Dietrich, like the 2 icons in Belgium, and they both went to Illinois. So since I was 12, 13 years old, I always wanted to come there, and luckily that's what happened for me.
How is your relationship with him different now versus back when you started?
I guess my freshman year, I was a little not scared, but it's Coach Small. I didn't ask many questions. I was a little shy, but now we're even though he's my coach, I feel there's our friendship has grown over the years. He knows me better as a player. I know him better as a coach, and on the course, he has trust in me. He has faith, and most of the time, he just lets me play and takes care of the other players on the course. And he just knows that I'll be fighting hard on the course.
Tiger's your favorite golfer ever, I read, which, let's be honest, Adrien, not very original. Not very original. Have you ever met him?
I have never met him before. I've watched him play, I believe, one time in 2019 at the Masters, a practice round, but too many people were watching him, so I moved on to another player. But it was cool to see him.
If you did meet him, what would you want to ask him?
Just maybe one advice, because he had a lot of up and down, and maybe how he, managed to deal with the downs and how he managed to fight back. It's very impressive that he won the Masters in 2019, especially from where he was with his injuries. But yeah, just one advice on how to handle the downs.
Give me the best golfer you have met in person.
Best golfer that I've met in person. I want to say Thomas Peters, because I played with him a couple of times.
Nice.
Last 2 summers ago. It was very impressive and very cool to play with him. Thanks to COVID. He didn't have many tournaments going. I got to play 3 times with him and talk about live golf, and it was very enjoyable.
Best course you've ever played?
Best course I've ever played? Probably Cypress Point. That was, I believe, my sophomore year. It was Stanford tournament. We got to play there. It was a team match play tournament, and that was very fun. The views are, beautiful, and these par 3s on the end, 15 and 16, were just amazing to play on.
Give me the tip, the best tip that you give to all of us amateur golfers out there.
Tip, I'd say stay patient, you'll be struggling. Everyone struggles, but staying patient, reboot if you're struggling, and then just saying the word next. Don't stay in the past, just stay in the present and focus on your next shot. The most important shot is your next one.
Adrien, how bad are us Americans at saying your full name?
You know, not so great, but I've heard some people saying it very well. I know there's been struggling, but you know, when I came here my freshman year, I was struggling very bad with English. You know, I had a tough time pronouncing some words, so I don't really get mad at these people that just can't pronounce my last name.
Give me the worst screw up you've heard of your last name.
I don't think I can do it. I mean, it was probably Adrien, Dumont, just couldn't say the last part.
If I'm not mistaken, selection show's coming up on Wednesday for you guys for the NCAAs?
Yep, that's right.
All right, well, good luck then, man. I hope that goes great and hope you have perfect success. Adrien Dumont de Chassart, thanks for your time, man. We appreciate it. That was the moment the Big Ten Women's Tennis Championship came to a close. Number 1 versus number 2, OSU and Michigan. Wolverines get the victory. They're the Big Ten champs. The tournament was completely chalk the entire way until that final matchup. And it was revenge as OSU beat Michigan last year for the title. Still, for the 4th time since 2015, the Wolverines win the Big Ten tournament. Ronni Bernstein is the head coach of Michigan, and she joins us now. Get much sleep last night, Ronni?
I got a little bit. We got home late. It was definitely nice flying home back from Iowa with those Big Ten championship shirts on. So the girls enjoyed the ride home. I think we had a lot of fans on both legs of our trip and got a lot of congratulations. So got a little bit of sleep, though, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Give me details. What was the celebration like?
It wasn't much. We rushed to the airport, but at the courts after, I mean, the girls were just so excited. It was just so cool to see how well we could play under such pressure. No, it was great. We rushed to the airport, had our T-shirts on, and just so excited for the postseason and to continue playing.
So you're saving the champagne popping for later on in the postseason?
Yeah, no champagne with the kids. I might have some after the postseason, but we're sticking to business and trying to make a push here into NCAAs.
Well, I mentioned, too, a bit of revenge as the Buckeyes beat you guys last year in the final matchup. I'm always curious in coaching motivation stuff. Is that the type of thing that you avoid, you don't want your team to think about, or are you using that before the matches yesterday as motivation?
Yeah, we didn't really look at last year at all. This is a new year. I think it was more, an opportunity for us. We lost a tough one in Columbus a month ago, and they're a huge rival, and we know that they're a great team, and it was going to be a tough match. And it was tough to get to that final. We squeaked out a match in the semis against Northwestern. So we really didn't talk about last year. We talked about it's the postseason. It's an opportunity to win a Big Ten title this weekend, and we went match by match. I mean, Maryland was tough. The first round, and then obviously Northwestern was a battle. And then yesterday, just the pieces came together, and I couldn't be more proud of how we played. I mean, we couldn't have played a better match, starting with the doubles point. So it wasn't about last year. It was just trying to win a Big Ten title.
Well, you mentioned that OSU beat you earlier in the season. How similar or different is your team now versus then?
Yeah, I think we're playing better. In Columbus, we put ourselves in position to win that match, and we were up 3-2, and we lost 2 tough singles matches at the end. But every time we play Ohio State, it's a battle, and we know, how hard they compete and how good they are. So I don't know that it was different. The outcome was different in a good way, but we played really well. I think we won the doubles point, so that was different. We got up 1-0, and then that puts the pressure on them where we just need 3 singles points. So yeah, it's great to get, a win against them, and I think we're feeling confident going into May.
And you've done some shuffling of the lineup in doubles. What is important to you when putting together a pair to play doubles?
Yeah, that's been our, sort of Achilles heel. We've worked on it the last month. But typically, we try and get somebody that's a little more offensive and aggressive up at the net, and somebody that can kind of set them up on the baseline. And then also personalities are important and how they can help each other energy-wise. So I think that we're clicking now in the doubles. Yesterday was the best doubles point we played, and we needed it. We needed to get up 1-0, and I think it was a huge advantage for us. So I think we have our doubles correct now. We've practiced it a lot. And we can play doubles. You know, it's about energy and sticking together, and we did that yesterday.
We saw Jayden Brown close things out for you yesterday. She ends up winning the tourney MVP. How do you describe her year?
She's gotten better and better all year. She's been incredible for us. She's played, you know, anywhere from 1 through 4, I think. Now she played at the 2 spot. She's won so many matches in a row and gets off the court in 2 sets. But you can see her energy there on the video. I mean, she is sort of our leader with that. Cares so much about our program. And yesterday I could feel it because she was the clincher, and she, you know, at the end there, she was really starting to feel it, and I couldn't believe how much she wanted it, and our whole team yesterday, and just the joy when she finally won that last point. We got 4 on the board, was just incredible to watch.
And she's only a sophomore, right?
She is a sophomore. We're young. We have no seniors in our singles lineup, so if I don't mess it up, the future's bright.
Yeah, but that makes things harder right now. Now is the time of year, Ronni, where you want seniors desperately to sort of be the ones that are saying, I've been here before, youngsters, here's how it goes.
Yeah, I feel like our group has just so much tennis. You know, they've played so much. They played internationally before they got there. They have, you know, the experience. And last year we had the experience, too, of making it to the tournament final, and we got through LSU and made it to the Sweet 16 last year. So they have the experience. You know, they have 2 years under their belt, and they're a confident group, and I feel like they really play hard for each other. So I'm just excited to see what we can do here in the next couple of weeks.
I'm curious your big picture take on what the league was this year. I mean, it's a small snapshot, I know, but it's pretty fascinating that in the tournament, literally every higher seed won all the way down until you guys beating the 1 seed in the finals.
Yeah, I think, you know, we do have a lot of good teams. You know, Maryland gave us a tough match. I feel like they battled. You know, if you look at the records in the Big Ten, a lot of the matches were 4-3. We barely got by Wisconsin this year at their place 4-3. Illinois beat Northwestern. So teams are going back and forth. I think a lot of it, you know, is preseason rankings and getting that good non-conference schedule and getting teams ranked up there. But, you know, we didn't take Maryland for granted in the quarters. I think everybody can play in our league, and it's actually getting better. So hopefully we'll get a bunch of teams into the tournament and, you know, just show what the Big Ten can be.
Not sure if you heard, there was a rather similar outcome on the men's side.
I know, I was excited. We got off, once we finished our match, we all got off, got on our phones, and watched the end of theirs. So, I mean, our men's team this year has just been incredible. They're so fun to watch. They play with a lot of energy, and I feel like they've helped us with that. You know, our girls are trying to sort of channel what the men do here at the end here. But, you know, our men's team, you know, super happy for them, and, you know, they're going to make a deep run into this tournament, hopefully, as well.
Selection show is tonight. What are you going to be doing?
We are going to hang out as a team, going to Taryn, my assistant's house, and we're going to have fun and celebrate yesterday in our Big Ten, you know, tournament title and see where we're going to go. But, you know, wherever we go, I hope that if we can play like we did yesterday, we're going to do some damage.
Ronni, congrats on the championship. Best of luck with the NCAA tournament coming up.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Like we mentioned, on the men's side, a similar feeling. This is the point that clinched it for Michigan. They also beat Ohio State for the championship in the Big Ten. Back-to-back years, the Buckeyes have lost to the 2 seed in the finals for the Big Ten. That's 2 tennis conference championships headed to Ann Arbor thanks to this past weekend. Joshua Perry's back with us. Did you see Hassan Haskins got drafted?
I did.
Not bad.
It's pretty good.
Off to the Tennessee Titans. Of course, he's a Michigan man, and the folks who wear the maize and blue, they notice this, one in particular.
I just want to give a quick shout-out, no free shout-outs, to Mike Vrabel, Coach of the Year, because his alma mater got absolutely donkey-stomped the 3rd week of November by Hassan Haskins. 29 carries, 169 yards, 5 touchdowns. Literally went through them like a sieve. They had no chance. It was embarrassing for Ohio State country, embarrassing for all of them. This man is the pride of Columbus, Ohio. takes his ego, moves it to the side, says, I need this kid on my team. First Michigan guy drafted since your boy in 14. Electrostatic to have him. Love him to death. Don't even know him, but I'm sure he's going to be great. Listen, no one's Derrick Henry. No one will ever be Derrick Henry. But I'm glad the boy's on the team because he's just another blue guy. Just a hardworking, gritty guy, just like the Chevy Silverado.
I mean, amazing. And I've met Taylor Lewan a couple of times, got a lot of respect for him. I'm glad he was able to take his little victory lap. And he was right, too, for Mike Vrabel to make this pick. He had to put his ego to the side. But this is a perfect marriage, in my opinion. You see what Derrick Henry has done in Tennessee. Hassan Haskins is a similar type back because he's physical. He falls forward on every single tackle, and he's got a similar mentality to Mike Vrabel. I played for him for a couple years at Ohio State. The dude's an absolute nut. He demands for his players to be phenomenal, physical at all times. So I think this is going to be good. But Taylor Lewan, you hurt me.
I was just gonna say, I wish everybody could have seen you as you watched that for the first time. You went like an eyebrow raise, then a head shake, then a holding of the head.
There was a sigh in there somewhere. I mean, it was something.
That's funny. All right, we got a few more names to get to from the draft. One of the names is one of the best names to say, Chigozie Okonkwo.
Yes.
Why'd you like him going?
So he is a very unique prospect in the fact that he's got like a tweener body, but his skill set says tight end all the way. So I think that he is going to be able to have a successful career simply because he plays with the physicality. I think he's a little bit more athletic than a typical tight end. It's just he's a smaller body type. I like him in there, though.
A lot of Big Ten Titans now. You got drafted a couple guys, got the head coach, got Lewan, et cetera. The Steelers made one of the cool storylines of the draft. They had a Hayward brother. They drafted another Hayward brother.
Yeah, and I got to talk to Connor Hayward before the draft, and I was like, man, would you rather play with your brother Cam in the NFL or against him? And he was like, oh, man, I want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. It would be great to play for that organization, play alongside his brother. He said it'd be great to get back to Pittsburgh where his family's from, everybody except for him. So this is awesome.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Steeler type of guy, too. You've seen the physicality. You've seen the versatility. He does whatever he needs for the team.
And it's always cool if family gets to play together, whether it's father-son like Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr., or whether it's brothers like this. How about this? Do you know how many sets of brothers play right now?
I saw the stats, so I'm not going to spoil it.
7. And how many are on the Steelers?
I saw it.
4.
Amazing.
Isn't that bonkers?
It's wild. First off, if you're a parent and you've got your multiple children playing in the NFL, it's like, man, this is pretty good. Like the bloodlines are extremely strong, right? But if you are a brother, to be on the same team as your brother, that is absolutely crazy because you always grew up playing the sport with them, probably competing against them. You talk smack, and now you get to go out there at the highest level and do it for a living. That's fun.
And the money the parents save only having to buy one jersey. They don't have to do the half stitch for when one team plays the other.
Only traveling to one game.
All adds up, man.
I mean, yeah, it's great. That's absolutely awesome.
When we were, just before coming on air, you were like, make sure we leave time for the players who didn't get drafted, but they could sign as free agents. Why did that matter so much to you?
Well, I mean, this is a special weekend for a lot of guys. We talked about the guys who get drafted, and they're the ones who we talk about a lot, but there are undrafted free agent players who are going to go out here. They're going to make rosters, and a lot of them are going to have really good careers. They don't get talked about as much on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so we're going to do it here.
Josh Ross, Haskell Garrett, Tyler Goodson, who stands out to you?
So Josh Ross, he signed with the Ravens. We talked about the Mike McDonald connection there. As an undrafted free agent, you get to pick your destination by whoever offers you. That was smart on his behalf, so I think that's going to make a lot of sense there. Haskell Garrett was a guy last season, had he come out, he probably would have been a second-round pick. He was an All-American type player, had just been shot in the face and then got back in 2 months to play. He stayed another year, did not necessarily work out, but he's going to Tennessee. So we got another Big Ten Titan there, and then Tyler Goodson to the Packers. They need offensive help. I know people in Chicago don't love hearing about that, but he's a guy who I think can provide it. And we've watched him, I think slightly underrated. You see on tape where maybe he gets stuck in the mud sometimes, but he's got a real shot here to make this roster.
Are we done with you till August?
Well, that's what I had thought, and then I've made a couple of appearances, so we never know. But I love coming back.
Why not? Hey, how about this? Here's why you need to watch. I know you won't be here tomorrow, but you got to watch. Ryan Ramsey, the Maryland pitcher, threw a perfect game on Friday. A perfect game, only the 20th all-time in 9 innings. He's going to be on that show to chat about it Tuesday morning. We'll see you then.